see, last time I left and then you approved it after I left. We just talked about it. And that's all, the only reason I asked.
You're in need of help.
Gives you time. Okay, so we're doing, no,
Everything's today.
okay.
Handle the what?
Are you getting in there? Do you want me to say
Well, we are going live, just FYI.
We're gonna be talking about that.
So I don't need to tell you.
Yeah. We have to, have a plan on, getting information out to the public. As far as the.
Morning.
Are you wearing that ready?
I'll see if I can, because
The feed is live, FYI.
it might be, huh?
Do you want me to throw that up?
No.
So it was weird, I had to turn the volume down.
My neighbor lady made these.
Oh, boy.
Neighbor girl. Anybody wants one, you can have one. They're washable. I mean, she's got Garcia's, she's got Flowers, she's got. Well, my glasses aren't fogging up, so. Not like the other one.
You might want to let some really black with them.
And I've seen them with like big teeth on them and mustaches. Yeah, these people are great.
We're gonna have to dial in the regular number. I'll just speak with them.
Just dial it. That's it.
Yeah, put it on speaker and just dial the normal. Do you know it?
How are you? I'm good, how are you?
Good.
Why?
Yep, we're here. Sounds like Mr. McDermott.
We're here, Commissioner.
No.
There we go.
Hey, Commissioner, why don't you talk for a second? Fine.
Okay. You want to check the volume?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, thank you. Well,
That sounds better than, yeah, good.
I think Eileen's with you, right? And we have Mr. Yorks on the phone.
I'm here, yes.
Correct.
Are you ready, Emma?
Let's do a roll call first, so we know who's on the line.
Do you want me to go through?
Just ask everybody on the call to announce themselves.
Can everybody on the call announce themselves, please?
Maya Toon.
Jason York. Scott Williams. Bruce Lehman. Rick Maravito.
Should be everybody.
Okay, it's 10 a.m. We'll start our regularly scheduled work session. Ask you to please rise for a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we praise you in this Passover and Easter season. We remember the hope and peace and promise you have given us in the resurrection. Lord, we know you are with us at all times. In Isaiah 41 you tell us, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. We pray for those who are sick, depressed, and are hurting. Protect all that are working for us and are at risk to keep us safe. We pray that this virus will pass over our county and you will spare us the worst. Provide our leaders wisdom beyond their knowledge as they weigh decisions that are some of the most difficult they'll ever make in their lives. We pray that this time will bring our families closer, our nations more unified, and more of your creation be closer to you. We praise you in this Easter season. Change our lives, change our hearts to be messengers of the Easter joy and hope. Our nation needs this message more than ever in these times. These things we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no bid openings, and we do not have any accounts payable cash requirements report for today. So we're going to start with 3.0, the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week proclamation.
Proclamation, whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police, firefighters, and EMS personnel is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our emergency service providers is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from the citizens who telephone the Lycoming County Communications Center and the Pennsylvania State Police, Montorsville Barracks, Troop F. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical of our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our emergency service providers by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of Lycoming County have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas telecommunicators exhibit compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now there be it resolved that the Lycoming County Commissioners declare the week of April 12th through April 18th, 2020 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Lycoming County in honor of men in safety whose diligence and professionalism keep our county and citizens safe. We hereby set our hand and seal on this day, April 13th, 2020. Lycoming County Commissioners Scott L. Mesker, Chairman, Tony R. Massard, Vice Chairman, and Richard Maravito, Secretary. Beth?
Thank you, Commissioners, we appreciate that. I just want to say a few words about our staff at the 911 Center. 2019, we fielded 133,500 approximately calls in the 911 Center. We did that with a staff of 12 full-time telecommunicators, 2 trainees right now that we have, and we have 2 part-time telecommunicators. our office staff fills in and helps in the center when necessary, along with myself when necessary, to make sure that we're covered 24/7. We do have a special group of dedicated people that make sure that our citizens are served 24/7. During this epidemic, I mean, I know this is now, we're talking, in the last year, my people are dedicated people. I can't say enough about them. I've only been in this position for 9 months, and I cannot be more proud of the people that are serving with me in the center. During this pandemic going on, I've had one person call off because they had a severe stomach flu. That's all I've had. And I was thankful that he called off and stayed at home because I didn't want everybody else to be sick. But everyone else has shown up. They sit a few feet away from each other. They work their shifts. No one has complained whenever we started doing all the temperature checks and all the medical questions and everything that has happened, to keep our center safe. They all come in, they clean, they take care of everything every day to make sure that they're there to serve the public. And I thank you guys for supporting us. I thank you for giving us the technology that we need, supporting our projects that we need so that we can serve our public every day. So thank you. Thank you for supporting my staff, and thank you to my staff for being the wonderful people that they are.
Thank you. And your staff is the voice. It's the cry of help. They're the first ones to hear that cry of help when you call 911. And it's often a life-threatening situation. And on that line, you hear a voice of calmness, you hear a voice of direction, you hear a voice of immediate care until that first responder gets there to take over. And it takes a special, special person to remain that calm under those kind of stressful conditions.
I can tell you it certainly does, and those are calls that never leave you. Okay, 25 years I've been doing it. I can still remember calls from when I first started in Prince William County, Virginia, 25 years ago that are still in my mind. So those calls never leave my folks, but they come back every day and they do it again. So they are a very special group of people. Thank you.
I ditto those remarks. Fantastic group, and we're very proud of them.
And Beth, especially in this time, if you could convey to them our sincere thanks on behalf of all the citizens in this county for what they're doing. They're out there and they're working very long hours and they're taking on a lot of stress, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. I believe they're all very happy to be serving in Lycoming County. They're treated very well and they do appreciate the county. Thank you.
I'll thank them on behalf of us.
Thank you.
Proclamation here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to 5.0, personnel actions with Roxanne Greco.
Bring Roxanne.
Good morning, Commissioners. In the Commissioner's office, we have Cynthia A. Dawson as a full-time replacement executive secretary, pay grade 5, $29,679.54 annually, effective April 20th, 2020.
Any discussion? A motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. So
Aye.
carried.
I just want to thank Eileen. She's been doing double duty there for several months, and we appreciate that very much, Eileen.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Move on to 8.0, action items. We'll start with 8.1, Maya Toon, approved 2020 grant application to PA County's risk pool.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Maya.
This is an annual application that we submit through CCAP4. It's through P Corp, which is the PA County's risk pool insurance company. And the program is designed to support the Safety Committee and administration to offset the cost of enhancing our safety, maintenance, and risk management operations. This year, the grant is actually in the amount of 18, I can't remember, it's not 20,000. We weren't able to do the full amount. I think, yes, 18,920. And the specific program that we're looking to do, a project, is out at the Pre-Release Center. If you recall, talking with Ken George, I believe he briefed the commissioners on this. This is to do a new kitchen hood and install that out there in the kitchen area, as we found that it wasn't updated to reflect the necessary safety concerns for coding with the city.
I think you mean the township, but that's okay. Right,
Well, he said there was also, but there was something also involving with codes with the city as well. He said that, I think he sought guidance on from the city.
Oh, okay. Well, this is good. This is not tax, this is, the taxpayers are getting this hood installed free, I don't say free of charge, but as a result of this grant that you put together and as a result of the good work that our folks have done in keeping our losses down in terms of our general liability. And I believe, Mr. McDermott, our workers' comp also, right?
Yes, Commissioner.
The loss prevention grant. So, should recognize that.
Any further discussion? A motion to accept the item 8.1.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. So carried.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Maya.
8.2, Jason York's approved price quote with Sunbury Motors Company.
Good morning, Commissioners. 8.2 is seeking your approval for a in-frame engine rebuild on R31 in the amount of $16,646.60 Sunbury Motors. R31 is a roll-off recycling truck, 2009 Sterling, has about 15,000 hours on the engine. So it was pre-approved. I worked with Director McDermott on this because we wanted to get the truck in and back. Hopefully, when things start up, we'll have it ready to go. So it was done. It's an amount of $16,646.60.
Any further discussion? If not, can I have a motion to approve the price quote for the
I'll
rebuild?
move to approve.
All in favor?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
8.3, Scott Williams.
Good morning, Commissioners. The CSVT project is the Central Susquehanna Valley Transportation Project. So that consists of the construction of, it's about 12.5 miles of new highway. It includes that gigantic new bridge over the river, visible from 15 south of Lewisburg near Winfield. So once it's fully constructed, CSVT is anticipated to affect traffic patterns and possibly have some significant impacts on communities to the north of the project area, especially along the I-180 and US 15 corridors. But the exact nature of those impacts and effects is really unknown. So some further study is going to be necessary to determine the nature of both the traffic impacts and the scale of the potential development pressures on communities along those corridors. So we developed a proposal, a project scope, and secured $70,000 from PennDOT in state planning and research funding. We matched that with $30,000 in Act 13 funds to develop the study that will determine the likely traffic impacts and resulting development pressures on Lycoming County. So we issued the RFP last year, and we selected Michael Baker International as our consultant. When we reviewed Baker's proposal, they included some really excellent suggested supplements to the scope of work that the review team felt really enhanced the project. You know, the anticipated deliverables would really be enhanced by these supplements. The problem is obviously they're supplements, so they're going to cost more money. So we reached out to PennDOT to see if we could get an increase in funding to pay for the supplements. After we initiated that conversation, the question was raised whether we could also include some portions of the US 15 corridor in Union County and along State Route 147 in Northumberland County. Because our original scope was just for the impact on Lycoming County. And those areas had started to talk about doing their own separate study. But really, after a few conversations, it really made more sense to try and fold that area into our study as well. So we made that pitch to PennDOT to expand the geographic area of the study and add all of the amazing supplements that Baker's proposed. So PennDOT agreed to fund all of that additional work with no additional match. So we were able to get the expanded geographic area of the study and the supplemental paths added to the scope for an additional $67,940. So the final project budget will be $167,940, and it will fully study the traffic impacts and any sort of anticipated development impacts from the CSBT project north along both 15 and 147 and 180, the whole way up to the 180 US 15 interchange at the Market Street Bridge in Williamsport. I've also been in communication with Baker about this, and they're ready to proceed with this project as soon as this contract is executed. So even though they're working from home just like I am, they'll be able to commence work on the early sort of analytical and ordinance review steps of the project immediately. And we'll be able to do the early steering committee meetings via teleconference if necessary. Do you have any questions for me?
John, this is Commissioner Maravito. Just to reiterate, how much came out of Lycoming County again on Act 13?
So the original project, it was $100,000 for the study, to just study Lycoming County.
Right.
It was so $100,000, and of that, $70,000 was state planning research, and $30,000 was Act 13 money.
Right, that was the original. We had agreed to put up 30, so actually we're still putting up 30,000 and we're getting a study of 167.
Exactly.
Right. You know, I think it's important for constituents to understand that when we add these other counties like Cumberland and Union, it helps economic development here because economic development doesn't just stop at a county line. So I'm glad that PennDOT recognized that and that the state stepped up to the plate to pay for it. But anyway, that's good work on your part too, the whole planning department.
Thank you.
Commissioners, this is the solicitor. I wanted to let the commissioners know that there are a couple of contract terms that I believe are still being discussed. I've been in communication with Maya. I think we'll work those out, but I would request that you approve this subject to final legal review and administrative review.
Can I have a motion to accept action item 8.3 with the terminology that the contract be amended to subject legal language as needed?
I'll move to approve subject to the final administrative and legal review by our solicitor.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
8.4 and 8.5, Director McDermott is going to present.
Commissioners, on behalf of Director of Court Administration Adrian Stahl, we'll be seeking your approval of the agreement with Tricia Hoover Jasper Esquire for legal services as a conflicts attorney in the amount of $40,000. This is a budgeted approved item, and as usual, it's on an as-needed basis.
Any discussion on this contract? If not, can I have a motion to accept action item 8.4?
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried.
And Commissioners, same thing again with 8.5, seeking your approval for the agreement with Helen Stolinas Esquire for legal services as conflict attorney in the amount of $40,000.
You know, this Commissioner Maravito, quick comment here. I noticed that this firm is out of state college, and I guess I was going to ask Ms. Stahl, I guess they probably are conflicted out locally here, because typically they'll use local attorneys on these conflicts, but I guess they've had to reach up to state college. I don't know if she mentioned anything to you, Matt, or...
No, Commissioner, I didn't get
It's not a big deal, you know. Just more curious.
I have a
I'll
motion.
move to approve.
Okay. Action item 8.5 on the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
So moved.
8.6, Shannon Rossman. Actually, Shannon has 8.6, 8.7, and 8.8.
Morning, Shannon.
Good morning, Commissioners, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
8.6 and 8.8 are related. 8.6 is the Master Services Agreement with Wood Environment and Infrastructure Solutions for the execution of various work orders as we move through the levee project. This will only go into effect when they submit a scope of work. This is the overlying legal and administrative information. So 8.8 is the first scope of work for that item. 8.8 was the having Wood work with Keller Associates to help the city of Williamsport apply for the EDA Phase 2 grant for the Dewey Avenue eye wall. And in order for them to get that done, we had to give them initial approval to move forward with that. So 8.6 and 8.8 are together, actually.
Okay, any discussion on these two items?
So just one quick, this is Commissioner Maravito again. It's interesting for the public to understand, these are just ramps to get to access wells, right, Shannon?
The first one that we're talking about, the MSA is going to cover many different items in the future. If anything that we don't have currently covered under contract, if we need an engineering opinion, if we need oversight over a specific project that's going, and then the scope of work that was submitted is for the $24,482. That is just the work that we need from the engineer to get the grant, to apply for the grant to EDA.
Right.
Just like in the past, we received the $7 million first EDA grant for the county, and EDA has some money left over. So Keller Associates worked with EDA and to find out what that they think a good amount would be to apply for, and we think that amount in the total of the grant will be $4.8 million, we hope, with a $4 million grant and $800,000 match for the city to do the Dewey Avenue eye wall section. But in order to do that, we had to have a bunch of preliminary engineering done for that. So the city is, the application is almost complete. We're just waiting for the, Jason Fink is from the chamber is helping us with letters of support forms from the businesses, which is basically a good majority of Newberry and all of the industrial Reach Road area. So we're waiting for those support forms and then we can apply for the grant.
Wonderful.
Right. I guess the point I was trying to make is that you might, for the public, it isn't just a question about go out and fix the levee. You have, in this case, after 50 years, so much has changed in the topography that we actually have to get to the levee. We have to build access plans to get trucks in there and so forth. And you can't just go and build access ramp. You have to do wetland analysis and other things. So
That will be the next one I'm going to talk about.
Of this project of repairing the levee.
Would you like me to do 8.7 also?
Let's do approval for,
Okay.
any further discussion on agenda item 8.6 and 8.8 as they are related?
8.6 and 8.8.
Yes. Hearing none, can I have a motion for both agenda items?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you. Now 8.7.
8.7. Okay, this is the change order. We have a oversight agreement with, construction oversight agreement with Wood for the relief well systems, where they're in the process of working with us to get the RFP set up. We're working on those items. During the initial RFP that we had to negate back in January, we discovered that the section by Faxon Street exit in Loyalsock Township is going to require wetland delineation. It's going to require the construction of 2 access ramps. We are going to have to get access agreements, and we are going to have to do a number of other technical items with the consultant, in addition to environmental permits and permits with Loyalsock Township. So the issue with this is that was not originally in the oversight agreement that we had with them. So we need to revise that. The equipment that has to go into that area is the well drilling equipment, which is when it's in use, it's over 40,000, it's over 70,000 pounds and 40 foot high. So if it was just rehabbing the wells, we may not have needed quite as much of this, but because of the fact that it's such a large piece of equipment and it's so steep in that area, we need some pretty significant ramps in there, and it's a very tight area.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I have a motion to accept.
I move to approve the change order with Wood Environmental for $118,507.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
so carried. Thank you, Shannon.
Commissioners.
8.9, Forrest Lehman.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Forrest.
Voter services has about 2,000 mailings that need to go out to recruit poll workers, and the challenge we're facing right now is we're down to 2 people in here. You know, we're backed up on applications, testing voting equipment for the primary, and it would take us about 2 days to stuff all of those mailings by hand, whereas Election IQ can have these out the door in 2 hours. And so that's why I'm proposing this addendum to the contract we already have with Election IQ, because it's possible that this won't be the last poll worker recruitment mailing that we have to do in the coming weeks. And so this will just leave us in a better position if we have to do more of them beyond the ones that I'm looking at right now.
Forrest, I believe today or tomorrow, the commissioners are going to be discussing about bringing some of those people back. And me personally right now, you need to bring your workers back. This is going to be a trying time for you and the department. And you can practice all the safeguards and implement some of them before they come back. But this is too critical now. And you need to have a full complement of people, as well as additional people.
It's been a trying time for county election offices all over the state, you know, well, and really for everybody, you know, I don't even want to single my office out. It has never been harder to serve the public interest than it is right now, and yet it's never been more important. But you're right, we're getting closer to this primary where we need to be able to process all of these applications that are coming in. We got several hundred in the mail last week. We've got over 1,000 online that we've got to catch up on, and we've got to start programming and testing all of the equipment that has to go out to precincts. So you're right, we're going to have more people in here to do it, and we're going to have to do what we can to make it safe.
Well, Commissioner Maravito, is it, you know, we know that there are a couple of precincts where you haven't been able, the poll workers aren't going to be able to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is it ever acceptable to have an election where some precincts vote by mail and some vote in person, or is it generally accepted that you're either all mail or all in person?
Well, I can give you a layperson answer, but have to stress I'm not an attorney. But my understanding is that there is some language in the state constitution that says something to the effect that elections in the Commonwealth need to be conducted uniformly. And so it's been proposed, you can get any lawyer to offer you a legal opinion. It doesn't mean it would work in court, but it's been proposed that any attempt by, say, an individual county to run mail elections in individual precincts where there's a hardship could lead to legal equal protection issues. Now, I'm sure someone else could say that, well, there's a way to work around that, but it's a difficult question to address, and it raises a lot of challenges to talk about anything that isn't uniform.
Yeah. Okay. No, I appreciate that. That's an interesting perspective on it.
Commissioner, I'm not sure, but I don't believe we ever had mail-in ballots.
No, mail-in ballots it's a new product that was introduced when Act 77 was passed last year. To call it a mail-in ballot, that's what the law calls it. It's the same ballot that a voter would receive if they had applied for an absentee ballot. The difference is the application process and the eligibility. So if someone can't vote in person because of work, school, or medical, they're supposed to apply for an absentee. But if the voter is not eligible for an absentee and they do not want to vote in person for any reason, they don't need a specific reason, they're eligible to apply for the mail-in ballot.
But in other words, you're saying that because of this constitutional provision, it's possible that counties wouldn't have the flexibility to say these precincts are going to vote by mail, these precincts are going to vote in person.
Yeah, I have to stress I'm very loath to make a legal pronouncement that they definitely can or can't, but but I have heard that there is language in the Constitution that a county would definitely need to review and come to terms with before they would embark on any course of action like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Forrest, could you take a moment and just explain some of the safeguards that deal with mail-in ballot procedure?
Well, the safeguards we have in place for mail-in ballots are really similar to what we've always had for absentee ballots. People may not have asked as many questions back when absentee ballots only represented 3 or 4 or 5% of the votes cast in an election, but the absentee ballot process was always, very well administered, very good chain of custody on them, and the same is going to be true for mail-in ballots, no matter how many we get, because when we get an application, that application we process gets linked to a voter's record in the registration system, and they can only have one application for an absentee or mail-in ballot linked to their record at a time. So once there's one attached, that's it. The ballots themselves can only be sent and received in official ballot envelopes that are uniquely barcoded to the voter. So the registration system generates that unique barcode when we do the application. And in order for the absentee ballot or mail-in ballot to actually be received by the county and recorded or counted, the voter has to put their ballot back into that official return envelope with the barcode we provided them, and they sign the declaration on the back. And so when we receive that envelope back, we actually scan that barcode, and it updates the voter's record in the registration system to reflect that they voted in the election. So if someone, took a ballot and just, put it in a regular envelope and mailed it to us, it wouldn't be counted because it wasn't an official envelope, didn't have the barcode. The moment we scan that code, that's what updates them in the election day poll book out at the precinct to show that, hey, this was an absentee voter, they're not eligible to vote in person. And even if somebody called us and said, like, hey, I made a mistake, I need a new ballot, we can do that just by canceling the first barcode and create a new one. And so the system only permits one ballot correspondence to be active per voter at a time. So from end to end in this process of people applying for an absentee ballot, a mail-in ballot, getting it, voting it, getting back to us, there's a one-to-one correspondence that the voter registration system maintains. And yet at the same time, I've got to stress that the content of their ballot remains private and anonymous at all times, even though that outer envelope is barcoded, because the innermost privacy envelope that contains the ballot, it's just a plain white envelope with no barcode on it. So that's how you ensure that the actual content of their vote is never associated directly with the voter. And I guess the other thing I would say about the process, because we do get this question occasionally, is just to stress that even if no matter how many absentee or mail-in ballots the county receives, every single one of them will be counted, full stop. You know, it doesn't matter if the contests are close or not. Every ballot gets counted every time. It was always that way with absentees. It'll continue to be that way with absentees and mail-ins. We used to count them all on election night, but that might not be possible if the number of ballots is very large. But we will definitely count them in the days following the election if they can't be done election night, and they will be reported in the official results. So someone casting an absentee or a mail-in should not be at all concerned about whether that ballot's going to be counted, because it will be.
Forrest, I believe, you know, if you listen to social media, you hear Republicans as well as Democrats fearful of mail-in ballots. They're trying to suppress the vote. They're trying to cheat. I mean, both sides are concerned about this. And I believe that the commissioners are going to be asking you to produce a video for our Facebook so that you can go through it step by step and show all the safeguards, show the barcode, show how it's going to work, show how it's going to be voted, so that they feel confident in the vote. We're expecting to have a lot of mail-in ballots, and this is the first time we've ever done it. So I understand their apprehension and their fear and their concern, not only with the vote, but also with COVID. And most of our poll workers are you know, older citizens. And even the people that own the facilities, you know, calling you to say, hey, we don't really want you in here. You know, we don't feel safe about this. So I believe that we need to show them a video of how it all works, so they feel, you know, more comfortable in the process.
Well, we got a big response when we ran an ad in the newspaper late last week. We ran a full-page ad trying to encourage people, let people know that these mail-in ballots are an option for them as an alternative to the polling place. We took over 100 calls on Thursday from people who wanted us to send them out applications for a ballot. And that might just be the tip of the iceberg, because for every person who calls us asking for the application, there could be other people who read that ad and went straight out to Department of State and applied online. You know, we got 400 or 500 online applications just since Thursday last week. We're planning to run another advertisement late this month or early in May to similarly remind people of that option, because my hope would be to reduce in-person voting in order to you know, make things easier on the poll workers, safeguard their health, because they're some of the most selfless, finest public servants I know, and we've got to do what we can to take care of them. As far as the video, you know, I'm not very telegenic, so I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to pull off with respect to that. You know, it's certainly something we could look into. If the kinds of issues, the questions we're getting from voters are happening all over the state, it might be worth bringing something like to Department of State to see if they want to do something, that can be shown to counties all over the Commonwealth. And I have a conference call with them later today. I can bring that up and see if that's something they might be interested in doing. And that way it will be something everybody in the state could benefit from.
Well, I prefer to dub your voice and use Commissioner Metzger.
Oh, you mean have my voice coming out of his mouth?
There you go.
Of course, you've been looking at me.
Actually, Bart, it's a good idea what you're suggesting, because the last thing we want to do is create a video that someone challenges us on legal grounds. And maybe having the state do it would take care of that. But see what they say. I mean, it's a suggestion, Commissioner Massera.
Well, I'm not, here's my concern with that. The people know who the commissioners are. The people know who the sheriff is. They know who the public safety directors are. And they should be the face in this video. They are the ones most recognizable, and they are the ones that, people trust. They voted us in office, and I'm not sure if I can say I trust many people in state and federal government anymore. I don't know. But I do trust us. So, just a thought.
Well, the only reason I raised that is that after we talked about it, I thought, wait, we're also the election board. And so we have to be careful as the election, as people who are identified as the election board. That's the only concern I had.
Good point.
One thought that came immediately to mind might be possible challenges if we might not want to have any footage, for instance, from inside the voter registration system, since that's a state-run system. So it would be at least complicated, if not advisable to show footage of that, without talking to Department of State anyway. But as far as the other parts of it, I'm not sure there'd be any issues there.
But you don't think it's a problem that we're the election board?
Well, I think we could certainly talk about this in an executive session as well, but I don't have any issue commenting to the extent that one of the Board of Elections jobs is to, maybe its most important job is to preserve the public's faith in the integrity of the process. And so, to me, if the Board of Elections decided that, hey, we want to provide people with information to assure them that mail-in ballots or absentee ballots they apply for are secure and that the process is secure, that would seem to go right down the strike zone of that part of a Board of Elections mission. So I don't have any particular concerns about that.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad you addressed that.
Force back to the agenda item.
Okay.
I hear the urgency of you getting these letters out, so I would be in favor of us doing this time.
I would be as well.
Because of the time crunch you're under. But I do echo Commissioner Massara's statements that you need to bring your staff in. We have other staff that we can cross-train, that we can bring in and help you. I know it's going to be a burden on you, so we can do that and get you the help that you need.
Well, I'll certainly speak with IT department heads about what actions we can take to keep everybody safe once we bring them in here.
Absolutely.
So what's the total cost? I know it's 50 cents a letter. How many are you sending out?
Yeah, I didn't actually calculate for all of the precincts, but one of them, for instance, is Fairfield Township, so that's going to be a lot. And then the other one is Muncie 1, which I think is, I want to say 800-900 people. So they do add up. Now, we can cut into that a little bit by mailing one letter to every household instead of to every voter, but it still adds up. I guess one thing I should mention that's relevant here is that it's very possible that these expenses we incur for poll worker recruitment might be reimbursable by the state down the line, because the CARES Act that Congress passed did include about $400 million for COVID-related election modifications. We're still in the very early process of hearing from the state about how that would all work. but it sounds like some of that money would eventually be made available to counties by some mechanism where the county keeps track of its expenses, and sends those up to the state, and then we get reimbursed, and this would certainly seem to fall into that category. So I'm tracking this. I'm tracking like the full-page display ads we're doing, those kinds of expenses, so that eventually maybe they would be reimbursable.
Forrest, I saw that in the CARES Act too, and I would recommend you get a hold of Maya and have her start to apply for the process, because I think we can get some of those monies back.
Yeah, we've been in touch about that. The Department of State hasn't actually provided us with, generally at some point they'll give us an application and then really spell out what expenses are allowable. They haven't gone that far with us, but I'm sure that will happen.
Any further discussion on action item 8.9? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
Thank you.
Move to commissioner comment.
Okay, I want to start off by thanking the residents of Lycoming County. You've listened to the governor. You stayed at home. You practiced social distancing. You washed your hands regularly. You sacrificed many of your civil liberties to comply with the governor's orders. As the governor and our state legislature proceeds to kickstart this economy, we all must continue those practices the same as they requested in the future. I want to thank my two colleagues for working tirelessly over these last 4 weeks. Many decisions had to be made, and they are tough decisions. From employees to answering calls to understanding what we're doing, if it's legal or not. You've worked tirelessly to run the county with what we have. I want to thank our Director of Administration, Matt McDermott. He has to deal with us. We all three have different personalities. And sometimes we don't agree. And many times we don't. But he tries to keep us focused and informed, especially during this crisis. And we are grateful and appreciative of all you have done over this pandemic. To our Department of Public Safety, Jeff Hutchins, you walked into a really tough situation. Beth, and to all of our DPS, your staff has done it, and we admire you for being there for the constituents. A shout out to the sheriff. He does not have an easy job either, and he's kept everything running smooth. And as we start to open up, he's right on board with the commissioners to make sure everybody is safe and we're practicing the best management. Got to thank the law enforcement officers for not being heavy-handed in this area. Thank you, True Beth. Small businesses are seeing their dreams vanish. They cannot stay closed for much longer. They're pleading to us for help. I want to thank all our department heads and their staff. It's not an easy time. And, like I've said on many occasions, we're fortunate to have as many good people working in this county as we do. Other counties admire us for that. To my colleagues and to the other elected officials, we need to bring back some people now to service the dire needs of our constituents. Right now, we are opening up the facility as we talk to try to handle some of the needs of our banking and real estate industries. More is to come, but we should be opening up our doors. We know, Hutch, how many did we have that had COVID in our county?
28 tested positive.
28 tested positive. And that's a tribute to the citizens of this county, because they did listen, okay? And we are practicing what we're supposed to be doing. And now we need to get back to work and do the same practices and still serve our constituents. Governor Wolf is meeting with other governors in north central, northeastern United States to come up with a plan for opening businesses and services as soon as possible. Governor Wolf implemented many orders to protect our citizens, and although I did not agree with all of them, we complied. And it appears to have been very successful. Governor, I plead with you, small businesses, such as small construction companies, need to be opened. And they need to be opened now. We can implement safety and let them get back to work now. I can't imagine how much income the state has lost. And they are trying times. I don't know how many years it will take to make up that difference. But as Pennsylvanians, from rural counties to metropolitan areas, we're in this together. The issue that I have is that we can't paint all of our counties with the same broad stroke. Okay, we can't do that. So, Governor, I plead that you work with our legislators to open up our economy and our small businesses as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My concern also, exactly than many of Commissioner Musar's statements, it goes a step further. We're all concerned about our safety. That comes first. But I'm also concerned about our civil liberties. How a father is playing catch with his daughter in Massachusetts, but he's told he can't do so. They put handcuffs on him in front of his daughter, only to find out later that he was a retired state trooper. In Michigan, where the governor states that you can't visit your relatives or your friends now. What about the elderly person that you might be checking on next door, or your parents you need to go check on? In Los Angeles, where the mayor says, we encourage you to rat people out, and we'll reward you. In New York, where the mayor says, close the synagogue, or I'll close it permanently. In Kentucky, where they're having services in their cars for church on Easter Sunday. In their cars. And the governor says to law enforcement, go write their license plate numbers down. We'll quarantine for 14 days. They can go to a drive-up liquor store, but they can't sit in their car for a church service on Easter. This is a direct attack on our civil liberties. These are people abusing their authority. If we don't open our economy soon, the addictions are going to get worse. The depressions are going to get worse. New York City alone, in the last 2 weeks, had 2,500 heart attacks. Last year at this time, they had 450. People are going to lose their businesses. We're going to have more casualties as the result of COVID is a direct result of COVID. 90% of people who acquire this recover. 90% in Pennsylvania. So out of the 22,000 positive cases, that means 10% were in the hospital. 2,200 cases were in the hospital across the state of Pennsylvania. And 2.5% of those were in ICU. Now, we don't want any deaths. We don't want anyone to die. And there's people, lives are going to be changed forever as a result of this. There will be people out there who will not shake hands with people in the future. It's going to change behavior forever. But we need to open up the economy again, use common sense like the governor of Oklahoma is doing, where they're protecting the vulnerable people, the people at risk. They're not allowing people to go into nursing homes, hospitals. They're protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And they're practicing safe distance. Just like Cumming County has, and that's the reason why we have 28 cases. Because the residents of this county took it serious. They were responsible, did the right thing. But at the same time, it has to come to an end where we have to get back to living, where there won't be any living out there for us to take care of our kids. Thank you.
So, gentlemen, I know we have a conference call with Senator Toomey at 11 o'clock, so the only thing I can say is that I think that we have to sort of look at the science behind this and of trying to learn from what's happened in other countries. In Japan, there was a city in northern Japan where they had early on closed things down, practiced social distancing, and thought that they were out of the woods and reopened too early and too quickly, and the cases skyrocketed. And one of the things that I hope we can learn is from what's happened in other countries, and to try to listen to the science behind it and understand that, you know, it's not, we all would love to have things return to normal, but we need to look at the cases. We haven't even supposedly peaked yet in Pennsylvania. One of the other things we're learning is that it's not like it's just going to end on May 1st or April 18th, whatever day, you know, it's going to go on. So we have to find a way. I understand what you're both saying, and I also, you know, have great concern for what's happening to the economy, but we could end up making things worse for our constituents who we have an obligation. I think the best thing that we can do is to try to encourage people to listen to the science behind it, because otherwise they'll hear different messages. But I did hear from a constituent who said to me, you know, why did the governor cancel school totally? Why not say, okay, we're going to have the kids go in June and July, or July and August to school? And you know what, I thought about that, and I thought, because I am concerned about some of our kids falling behind in the Jersey Shore area, where, in other parts of our county where they don't have access to broadband, or not to any internet, and those kids are really going to be at a disadvantage. And maybe one of the things we could do as commissioners is look to see if we can use some of our Act 13 money to help bolster getting access to those kids for internet. There's ways to, and we would have to talk to some of the companies like River Valley and some of the others. There's ways, and some places have put receivers on buses and are moving them around the county to try to get internet to those kids. I think that if we focus our energy now on those things, we will help the public get through this period, and also at the same time keep our workforce strong in the county for the future. The last thing we want is a group of kids in our county to be hurt by this any more than they already are. So I'm hoping we can look at that. There are ways to almost have traveling internet where you deal with the peaks and valleys by moving it. So anyway, gentlemen, I know we have a call at 11 o'clock with Senator Toomey, but,
Thanks, Commissioner. Hey, and it would have been remiss of me not to thank my neighbor, Mookie Sowers, for making masks for us here at the county if we want to use them. She's working right now down in Montoursville making masks with inch stitches and Keystone Bingo and advertising, who's donating. You know, they have people making these masks, and they're donating to facilities throughout the county. I want to say thank you. I tip my hat off to you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
you know, gentlemen, the other thing is, I think just real quickly, we need to be mindful that there are people who don't have all the abilities that all of us have, who we don't want to be left behind. One that's come up in the past week is just being able to make sure that we have a mechanism for when we live stream these meetings, having some sort of subtitles. Imagine that you're deaf and you now cannot get news the way you normally do. You can't have interaction with people. And so you're wondering, can I pay my taxes? Can I go to county government? So I'm hoping we can look at that. I don't think I've raised it with IS. The three of us have discussed it. I'm hoping that we can get that done so that all of our citizens can be able to participate in keeping themselves safe by listening to something like this conversation and being able to see it captioned.
Thanks, Commissioner. We got to get on the phone with Senator Toomey.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Any public comment at this time?
I have none on my end.
Okay, hearing none, the meeting's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Misty Dion has requested that anything that we do, any video that we do for voter services come out in alternative formats for same exact reason Mr. Maravito brought forward.
All right, absolutely, thank you. Meeting is adjourned at this time. Our next meeting, we've completed everything on the agenda for this week, so there'll be no commissioners meeting on Thursday. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, April 21st at 10 a.m. here in this room, and it'll be a work session. Thank you. Have a good day.